Good evening, everyone. How the devil are you? It's Friday. It's rolled around again, and here we all are again. Hopefully, with something looking a bit like this in our hands. Cheers, everyone. It's beer o'clock. A bit of a change this week. This week's stream of verbal diarrhea is brought to you courtesy of Carlsberg Export, because I did have some Heineken, but I drank it all already. It's what happens when you get the shopping delivered on a Wednesday. Anyway, let's as is the custom and practice around these parts, let's have a look and see who's in the chat, who was first in, etc., etc. I see we've got Balder in first this week, and then Grandpa Joe and Steve Hale. Then there's Jeff C and Johnny Random and Steve Entwistle, Johnny H Rent to Kill. Oh, excuse me. Peter Nicholson, Terry Day, Derek Clacton, Jimmy James, Silent Hybrid is in. So is Vincent Brennan, and who else have we got? We've got Gordo Canuck, and scrolling down, we've got Dr. Gomez 1. Ian Clark is there. So is Phil, and Vincent Brennan. Have I said you already, mate? I can't remember. Peter Collins, Anthony McManus is there, and so is Michael Palmer, and Dave Fiendish, and who else we got? We got John Ross and Chip Young, David James, Chris Otwell, 60s Man. Paul Trainer is there, and who else? We've got Brad Matthews, Savvy64, Andy King, Lawrence Hastings, Cornucopia, John Channing, Cal B and the Rocco Cat and Dave Lewis are both there. So is PFY Guitars. And I see Balder is, yes, Broadsword calling Danny Boy indeed. If anybody's confused by that reference, basically go and watch an old war movie with Richard Burton, Where Eagles Dare. And if you take a drink every time Richard Burton says that phrase, you will not reach the end of the movie sober, I promise you. Then we've got Michael Purcell, Stratboy 999, Timbo Rough Cuts, Robert Galbraith, and Anton is there. So is Thomas Mulvaney, Theme Tunes, and who else we got? Rex and Matic back from the mountains. Greetings from Phoenix. Nice to have you back, Rex. Then we've got David Collins, John Mack, and Colin Falcon. IMA 640 is in. Rare occasion he catches us live. So, well, nice you can join us live, mate. And if anybody's watching us on catch-up, greetings to you as well. Then we've got my old mucker there, Steve Hoggett is in. How are you, mate? Then there's Amadeus and Peter S. And we've got Paul Trainer. Thank you very much. You're a gentleman, sir. Then Nancy Davis and David Evans is in. And then we've got Carl Tom. Long time no see, mate. How are you? Graham Campbell is in. David Kay is there. And Stuart Young, Jason King, and who else we got? We got Dave Stevens, GRB Aquatics, Graham Jones, Sometimes Dim Never Thin, Dave Pegg, Steve Muskie, Russell Gibson, Rick Cookson, Danny Smith, Morris Kilday, Andrew Bryan, Triple Distilled, Ben Allmark. Have I said Dave Pegg already? If I haven't, I just have. Then there's Watches and Guitars, Steve Cassidy Guitar, Jeff Crouch, and I think that's pretty much everyone. Thank you once again for each and every one of you for turning up and watching a fat bald lad talk absolute nonsense for an hour on a Friday. You know, it's a fun way to kick off the weekend, isn't it? Yeah, a couple of things I want to talk about. Well, one thing mainly, really, I just want to kind of bounce an idea off you, or just kind of just talk about something that cropped up in one of the videos this week. But before we get that, let's talk about the videos that are coming up in the next few days. The way we work on this channel, it's that the week sort of starts on a Sunday, and then we go through to Thursday. So Sunday's video is kind of a follow-on from yesterday's, where I was, kind of beginning to be won over by this piece of kit, the old pod, Line 6 pod amp simulator. Trying it with some modern impulse responses in that video yesterday. I really was very impressed with the kind of sounds I was getting, and as I said, I think in that video, come Sunday, we're putting those sounds into a full band mix with other instruments around them to see how it measures up. So that is what's going to be happening on Sunday. Then Monday's solo analysis video is courtesy of an absolutely huge band that had completely and utterly just passed me by until, certainly the last few years. I can't remember when I discovered them, but they were a band I discovered thanks to Richard Hammond, he of Top Gear and Grand Tour fame. He was guest hosting a show on some BBC radio thing, and he played a track by this band, and I thought, how come I've never heard of this band? This is fantastic. The band in question are sort of contemporaries of the Eagles, and various members have kind of come and gone from this band and the Eagles over the years. A little bit of a sort of a symbiotic relationship, I'm led to understand, and they sort of grew out of the ashes of Buffalo Springfield. So can anybody tell me what the band is? And if you know what the band is, then you probably know what the song is, and therefore what the solo is that we're looking at on Monday. Anybody hazarding a guess there? Not yet. Then Tuesday's video, another one of these top 5 70s different genres of rock, and Graham Campbell, Peter S. You've got it all. You've got it all right there, Poco. And somebody's asking, Gordo Cannock, does impulse response help overcome latency lag? In a word, no. It's a completely different thing. If you're getting really bad latency, then you need to have a dig around in your audio settings in your DAW. In Reaper, it's in the just basically in the top right hand corner of your main Reaper screen. You can go into there and basically reduce the buffer size. That it's about getting that sweet spot between a buffer size that means that you're not going to get a stuttering kind of the buffer size big enough so that you're not going to get any kind of stuttering, but not too big that you're going to kind of get lag. And in some cases, if it's either stuttering or lagging, then basically you need a faster computer, essentially. Tuesday is top 5 progressive rock bands, rock albums from the 70s rather. And as with all of these lists, when I do a top 5, there are bound to be some people who call me out on some of my choices, which I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Then Wednesday, we are doing a viewer's question video again. I've had a couple of questions actually about how I get the guitar tones that I use when I'm recording solos and stuff for YouTube and for other things as well, but primarily for YouTube, I guess. So we're looking at basically my signal chain, how I record guitar, how I get a big guitar sound, into, I was going to say onto tape then, but we don't use tape anymore, do we? So that's Wednesday's video. Then on Thursday, New Guitar Day. And it was my birthday a few weeks ago. Well, this guitar actually turned up on my birthday, and so I wasn't going to make any videos on that day, but I actually did shoot the unboxing part of the video on that day. So that's what we're looking at on Thursday, which shows you how far in advance I do these videos. So where are we now? We're coming up to the back end of March. In fact, are we actually? No, I don't think we're actually into April yet, but we're coming to the back end of March, and I filmed that video in February, so that's how far in advance I work. Right, so yes, let's see what we've been talking about in the chat. Johnny Random's talking about. Oh, so we've got Johnny in from Budget Guitar Show. How are you, mate? Johnny Random is saying, is there 3 Floyd albums in the top 5? You could not do a top 5 progressive rock albums of the 70s kind of video without at least one Floyd album. And you'll probably notice that in these videos, I do like to try and spread it around a bit. You know, I like to try and keep, you know, one artist, one album per artist, really. You know, I could easily, so in a let's say in a blues rock list, I could probably have had 3 Rory Gallagher albums, but I only picked one because, you know, I think, you know, it's I want to kind of spread the net as far as possible, so I choose one album per artist, and that is what makes narrowing these lists down particularly difficult, because, you know, they think, well, overall I like this album better than that one, but that one has an absolute belter of a track on it that I couldn't live without. I always imagine myself, you know, doing the Desert Island Discs kind of thing, where thinking, if I can only take one album by this artist, which one's it got to be? And you're not allowed to kind of make a compilation, because that doesn't count. That's cheating. So yes, talking about these top 5 lists, this last week was my 5 favorite mainstream rock albums, and I did get a little bit of a kicking in the comments off a few people, which, you know, I've got broad shoulders, I can take it. Do I look like the kind of person that loses any sleep over what people are saying about me on the internet? Yeah, indeed. But, you know, you know, I thought I'd sort of set the parameters for what I call mainstream rock in the video, but obviously a lot of people just sort of either didn't notice that or whatever. You know, you can identify blues rock quite easily. You can, you know, because there's a whiff of the 12-bar blues about it. You can identify progressive rock quite easily. You can identify folk rock quite easily, you know. So, for instance, I would call Jethro Tull a folk rock band. You can identify, you know, kind of country rock very easily, you know, so the Eagles or Poco, for that matter. So what I consider mainstream rock is, you know, where it's identifiably rock, but you can't say, yes, but it's got elements of this other genre in there as well. It's just straight ahead rock. And you know, that, which is, you know, I don't think you could say that a band like Rainbow, for example, could be a blues rock band or a progressive rock band, or certainly not a folk rock or country rock band. So, you know, so that's why I included them in on Tuesday's video about, well, you know, this is, to me, this is just good, straight ahead mainstream rock. And, you know, people were, you know, clutching their pearls to some degree or other about some of my choices there. And then, of course, I was getting the usual things of like, well, why didn't you include Rumours by Fleetwood Mac? Because I don't like it, frankly. You know, that is an album that mystifies me for its you know, for the amount of you know, kind of kudos it gets. I mean, I like one track on it, The Chain, which the Classic Rock Show did a fantastic version of when I went to see them recently, by the way. That's probably the only track I like on that album. Everything else, it just feels a bit like B-side material to me on that album. So that's why I didn't choose it. Your mileage may indeed vary. I'm not trying to sit here and say that it's a bad album, and if you like it, you are mistaken. No, if you like it, good for you. It's just I'm saying I don't, you know, and it's no more of a judgment than saying I like marmalade and you like jam, or vice versa, you know. Indeed, Jimmy James, rumours is pop music, not rock. I would say that all day long. Rainbow were never the same when Zippy and Bungle fell out. Yeah, there's a whole cohort of people in the chat who didn't grow up in the UK in the 70s who don't have a clue what that's all about. Rainbow, as well as being the name of a band, was also the name of a popular children's kind of puppet-based entertainment show, and Zippy and Bungle were two of the characters. Anyway, yeah, Led Zepp, you see. Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike Led Zeppelin. And there are some Led Zeppelin tracks that I really do like, but I can't honestly say that there's any Led Zeppelin album that I can say gives me the kind of chills, gives me the kind of fizz. I suppose the obvious one that gets closest to that would be Led Zeppelin 4, Stairway to Heaven, Black Dog, Rock and Roll, Battle of Evermore, and Misty Mountain Hop and all that. That's probably my favourite Led Zeppelin album, but it's not one of my favourite overall albums, and I doubt it would make it into any top 5 list of my favourite albums in a particular genre, because it's just that there are others that would need to go on the list above it. It's not, so what can I tell you? Led Zeppelin for me are the archetypal compilation album band. I've got that compilation, what was it, came out years ago, Mothership, and when I want to get a bit of a Led Zeppelin fix, I'll listen to that. But I never seem to kind of do a deep dive on any of the like studio albums. David Evans, can I just add my voice to those who've wished you and your lovely wife all of the best. It's there's no way to put a positive spin on the situation, mate. So I'm not going to bore you with platitudes, but our hearts go out to you, and it is what it is. But take good care, mate. Peter Nicholson, what are you saying there? Sorry, I've clicked on the wrong one there. I do apologise, Johnny Random. What was that? Peter Nicholson, you're saying, are 2 of Fleetwood Mac doing the round still sing about coal mining? I don't know, mate. I have no idea. I'm not sure I even understand the question, to be honest with you. But there you go. Yeah, I mean, the other thing about Fleetwood Mac for me is it really Fleetwood Mac when after Peter Green left? It became a different band. And it's like when Joy Division became New Order. They were a different band. It was still, the same sort of core, I guess, but they'd lost, a massively important founding member. So they changed their name and they called themselves something else. In an ideal world, I think Fleetwood Mac should probably have done that. Although I suppose the argument is that Mick Fleetwood and John McVie were still, kind of core members of the band. But do you know what I'm saying? For me, Fleetwood Mac without Peter Green is like Dire Straits without Mark Knopfler. But there you go. It was Meatwood Flack after Green left. Indeed, I mean the Fleetwood Mac album that I listened to a heck of a lot is I've got like a compilation of the early. I think it's just called The Very Best of Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, and it's got all of the usual suspects on there, including the version of Need Your Love So Bad, which is, I always thought that when I first heard that tune, I thought, it's just getting going and then it fades out. The actual full-length version, I think it's the US release, is absolutely fantastic. Big, long, kind of outro on it as well. Goes back into the vocals, and it doesn't feel kind of chopped off and foreshortened like the version that I'd listened to for years. Lindsey Buckingham is a hell of a guitar player, though. Indeed, he is. Indeed, he is. I'm not decrying that. It's just that that I don't know, just that the songs didn't do it for me. What can I tell you? And it's, you know, again, it's not music that I dislike. It's just music that doesn't really kind of get the spine tingling a little bit. There we go. Let's have a look. See what else. Malcolm Spillett saying he was in a band that covered "Need Your Love So Bad" and "The Chain." Let's have a look. See what else we got to. What else has been going on in the chat? Yeah, Peter Shields is saying, I love Joy Division, never rated New Order at all. Ian was Joy Division. Yeah, indeed, which is, you know, I think it was a wise move for them to kind of rebrand themselves. And Jay Vaughan is asking, how tall are you? It's incredible how often this crops up. This question of my height. I am 5'19". There you go. So work that one out. I see Dave Lewis is taking issue with me against the Led Zeppelin compilation. Opinions vary, mate. Opinions vary. Budget Guitar Show is saying, what did I end up doing with the Stag bass? I donated it to a student, mate. Let's have a look, see what else is going on. Any thoughts on the Coverdale Page album? Well, I bought it at the time, and it was one of those. It was one of those albums that, you know, you want to like it, but you can't quite get there. You know, it wasn't an album that I thought I dislike this, but it just never really kind of got under my skin. And sometimes you listen to an album and it's, you know, you don't get it on the first listen, so you persevere with it, and gradually, you know, you think, oh, actually, yeah, I'm getting this now. But that Coverdale Page album never really did that for me. So, you know, in the end, you just think, well, I have limited time to enjoy listening to music, so I'm going to kind of spend that time on something that I think is going to, you know, kind of tickle the old sonic taste buds a little bit more. Was your height the reason why you were picked for some bands? I don't think so, not to my knowledge. You know, I was in a band, gosh, this will have been in, I think, about 92-ish, where I was, as I say, I'm 6'7", and the lead singer was about 5'3", so it did look a little bit odd on stage, you know. So there was some comedic value in that, but you know, that was, you know, I don't think my particular lankiness has ever got me a gig in a band or stopped me getting a gig in a band. You know, it's one of those things. Time Prophet is saying, did you ever go to a band rehearsal and get mixed up with a bouncer? No, never happened, mate. Let's have a look. Yeah, James Falconer, I beg your pardon. James, I'm misnaming you there. I don't get the same buzz listening to a new album that I did when I was a teenager. I don't get it as often, but I do still get it. Probably the last album that really kind of got me, you know, excited and made me kind of think, no, I'm not going to read the paper while I'm listening to this. I'm just gonna listen to the music and be absorbed by it. Was when I first heard Chris Stone, Kingfish Ingram. That really did. I thought, okay, yeah, I don't want to be distracted by, you know, reading the news or whatever it was I was reading at the time. I'm just going to sit and concentrate on the music. And and really got into it. That was probably the last album that did that for me, but it doesn't happen as often. And I think that's just a function of you've been when you're young, because you're young, you haven't had the time to listen to as much music as you have when you kind of, when your age begins with a number 5, or even a bigger number than that. So you've heard a lot more stuff. So it feels like there's less new stuff to kind of surprise you, because that's usually what gives you the tingles, isn't it? When a piece of music really kind of shocks you and surprises you in a good way and makes you kind of think, I've never heard anything like this before. Well, chances are, when you've got a few more miles on the clock, you probably have heard something very much like that before, which is just a function of age, really. Peter S is saying, try Eric Bibb. The new Megadeth album, says Timbo Rough Cuts, for me. What a great album, especially with Dave's voice after throat cancer. Yeah, that's probably I struggle with anything that heavy, frankly. It's Iron Maiden. Vintage Iron Maiden. So Number of the Beast era Iron Maiden is about as heavy as I get. And when the whole thrash kind of thing came along in the 80s, I remember listening to a veritable British institution at the time. Many of us remember the Friday Rock Show on the BBC with Tommy Vance, and he would start playing some of these newer bands, like at the time Metallica, and what are other bands, maybe Slayer or something, if they were around then. As you can tell, I'm not really au fait with this genre, and it didn't really. I found it difficult to penetrate and get an understanding of it, and kind of, which I suppose if music speaks to you, then it doesn't puzzle you like that, and the whole thrash thing sort of it kind of confounded me a little bit. I wasn't sure what to make of it. So it just never really got me here. So there you go. What I suppose I'm saying is, even back in the 80s, I was a boring old fart, and I've spent the last 40 years kind of growing into it. Dave Pegg, what you saying there, mate? Oh, sorry, I put you up. It's horrible when you click on something and the page moves, isn't it? And you end up clicking on something you didn't mean to. That's what I tell the missus anyway. Dave Pegg, new guitar month. Is that Free Now's Dragonfly? Birthday present to self. Anyone know them? That is a complete new one on me, mate. And never heard of that band before. Just not something. No. So if anybody's got any information, Time Prophet is saying, I want to see your lead breakdown of Tornado of Souls by Megadeth. Not going to happen, mate. Not going to happen. It's any more than you'll see all of England breaking down, a Barney Kessel solo. It's just horses for courses, isn't it? You don't. You don't go into a Gordon Ramsay restaurant and expect beans on toast or a fish finger sandwich, and you don't go to the burger van at the car park at the beach and expect to get lobster thermidor. That's not what this channel is about, really. Let's have a look. Nancy, that's a good point. I don't necessarily agree with it, but maybe nowadays with free streaming service, it does not mean so much as when you had to pay for records. I mean, I look back with a certain amount of rose-tinted, spectacled fondness at the days when I've mentioned this many times. Where you were working all week. or you were at school all week even, and Saturday morning you would make the pilgrimage to, in my case, it was Alan Fernley Records on Linthorpe Road in Middlesbrough, and you'd be leafing through the racks and you'd kind of find something and you think, I think I've probably heard of this artist. I'll take a chance on it, and you buy an album, without having heard a note of music on it. Then there's the bus ride home where you're kind of absorbing the sleeve notes and everything. I look back on that with a great deal of fondness, but I wouldn't want to go back to those days. My enjoyment of music is no more, is no less. It's not diminished at all by just, like, if I want to get an album now, I just, Spotify, search, that'll do, and it's there and it's in my collection. It's, I don't enjoy music any less for that degree of convenience. As I said, I think the reason why, music fails to kind of give you the chills as much as it used to when you were young, when you get to certain, like my age or older, is because you've heard a lot more music. So you are, it takes something a lot more surprising to surprise you, really, which is the essence of what grabs your attention with a piece of music. It's it's when it kind of takes you by surprise. I mean, I often wonder what the first person who heard Layla by Derek and the Dominoes must have thought, because you've got that really quite jarring key change from the intro, which is in D minor, to go into the verse, which is in C sharp minor. It just drops a semitone out of nowhere, and then back up a semitone for the chorus, back into D minor, and and because you've heard it that many times now, it's sort of, you expect it, but the first person who ever heard it wouldn't have expected that. And what was the reaction then? It's those kind of surprising moments, I think, that make that kind of draw you into a piece of music. And sometimes it can be too jarring and too surprising, and you think, oh, that doesn't work for me. And that's a very, very I always describe it to my students. It's a little bit like, some people are, kind of chicken tikka masala kind of people, and some people are madras or vindaloo kind of people. It's about that sort of that level of heat or spice, or in musical terms, that kind of jarring dissonance. Everybody has their own threshold for that. Dr. Gomez one is saying Dougal is quiet tonight. Yes, indeed, he's absolutely knackered. He had a good run this afternoon. Johnny, Budget Guitar Show, is saying, I still buy and listen to vinyl. I troll through record shops and charity shops for good stuff. Good for you, mate. Good for you. It's, I lived through the misery of vinyl the first time, as I often say, and I've no desire to go back to it. I suppose if I'd grown up in an age when I'd had like a really top-notch turntable and good hi-fi and everything, then vinyl would have been a bit. I would have more pleasant memories of vinyl, but for years I had the old mono Dan set record players. Anyone remember those? The with the lid and the handle on the side, as if it was portable, but it had to be plugged into the main. So why they put and it weighed an absolute. It was like it was made of pig iron or something. Weighed an absolute ton. And that thing would, the needle would skip and jump and everything. And then I graduated to a full-on music centre, as we used to call stereos in those days, an Amstrad tower system. Yes, indeed. And again, it looked the part. The smoked glass door on the front and everything. The twin tape deck. The I think it had the LED VU meters and everything. It looked like a serious piece of kit, but again, it was just, in terms of playing records, it just used to skip and jump and what have you, and it was just, yeah. Vinyl was. I don't have happy memories of the whole vinyl era, so I'm in no hurry to go back to it. Greg Stamen, how are you, mate? Oh, Anton had the Amstrad as well. Was it the blue and cream coloured dance set, John? No, it was the black one with the. I believe it had like white piping around the complex control panel that had two controls on it. It had like an on-off switch that was also the volume and a tone control. Imagine the luxury. Imagine you could, and all that basically was like the tone control on your guitar. I seem to remember all it did was you had to have it on full, because if you kind of wound it back, it just reduced all the treble. Somebody's asking for the usual gratuitous Blondie shot, so here we go. Blondie is fixed. Blondie has had a little bit of fret leveling done, and I thought I was going to have to get a new selector switch, but I give it a good old dousing with switch cleaner and several kind of blasts with an air duster, and everything is now tickety-boo, and she's making a lot more appearances than she has of late. So Blondie's getting a little sister, though, as well. Dan is currently finishing off another guitar for me that is going to be a variation on the Blondie theme. So there we go. Let's have a look, see what else has been going on. Well, I've been blethering. Dave Stevens, yes. I have the dance set still. You could stack singles. Yeah, that was how you used to create a playlist, wasn't it? In those days. And hopefully the grooves on the singles would line up, because if they didn't, you'd get a bit of slippage, and it would sound, basically like it was playing at the wrong speed, because it was. Yeah, Dr. Gomez, that was it. I had the Amstrad Music Centre. I had to put a coin on the amp to stop it jumping all over the vinyl. Yeah, and then you realise that you after a few months, that favourite album of yours that you listen to a lot is starting to sound a bit more hissy and scratchy than normal. And that's I think my main beef with vinyl is that it's basically consumable. Every time you listen to an album on vinyl, you're wearing it out just a little bit. Whereas, I did go for, I think I mentioned this, a few live streams ago, might have even been last week. They all kind of merge into one after a while. I did go about 10 years or more back. I got myself a little personal stereo, a little music player, because I wasn't really using my phone for music in those days, that could play that lossless audio stuff. And I thought, this is going to be excellent. This is going to be like, when you first heard CDs for the first time, you were blown away by the clarity. And to be honest, I couldn't hear a difference. Now that is more of a testament to the aging process and what happens to your hearing, I think, as you get older, than it is to do with the quality of the codec. But from a consumer's point of view, once you get above, say, a bit rate of 128k on an MP3, you can tell a 128k MP3 it does kind of. It lacks something that's difficult to put your finger on. Definition, maybe, depth. But once I get up to maybe 320k MP3, I literally cannot tell the difference between that and lossless audio. So when I do listen to MP3s nowadays, as opposed to Spotify, all my MP3s are in 320k. Amadeus, what you saying, mate? Was in Middlesbrough yesterday at Agrajag Guitars. Yeah, I've heard of them, mate. The next time I have some guitar issues that I don't feel competent to sort out for myself, then that's all I'll probably be using. I did used to use, the late great Jim Cairns was always my go-to guy in this part of the world for any kind of guitar maintenance, but he's sadly no longer with us anymore. Passed away a wee while ago now. And then I started using a guy in Middlesbrough called James Bragg Guitars, but he can be a little bit difficult to get hold of. He's I'm not even sure he's still trading, but he did a nice job on a couple of guitars for me. But yeah, it's nice having that Agrajag guy there, which I've heard lots of good things about. Let's have a look, see what you're saying there, mate. I'm very much looking forward to getting my first PRS Play one, also a standard 2408 and tobacco based. Can't wait to get it. I've got to tell you that if I didn't have Blondie, the signature guitar, this PRS standard 24 would be my number one guitar. It's just got that extra kind of thing going on. And the satin finish and everything, it just feels absolutely gorgeous to play. And versatility. It's such a versatile guitar. You can go from screaming kind of Marshall kind of cranked leads to kind of transparent clean tones just by using the guitar's volume control. It's a fantastic instrument, and that will be one that you can have when you pry it from my cold dead hands, frankly. Jay Aoyong, yeah, the mini discs. That was quite the thing in the 90s, wasn't it? I think they were a data storage kind of thing. They were certainly digital, weren't they? It was CD quality, but you could record onto them. And of course, they just basically, kind of bit the dust when, recordable CDs came along. So, it was the Betamax or kind of 8-track cartridge format that just never kind of took on, didn't it? So Jay Aoyong is saying I'll stick with CDs because the maintenance free. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with CDs. It's the it was a great format. It's is it, would you call it sort of an obsolete format nowadays? I mean, I certainly wouldn't, but there are some people who would argue that it is, because the divide seems to be between people like me who just stream music or listen to MP3s or that kind of thing. And, if you don't do that, a lot of people, I would say the majority of people are kind of back on the vinyl kick again, aren't they? Which, as I've said, that's not something I'm going to do. But it is, when you look at sales of vinyl, it is going up. It's becoming a bit of a resurgent format that you're not really seeing that same kind of sales phenomenon with CDs. But there you go. Theme Tunes is saying nothing as maintenance free as digital files. Yeah, Brad Matthews, that's exactly how I do it, mate. We've got like a super duper kind of smart TV that does all of the kind of stuff. I mean, I listen to and I pay for the premium Spotify because the sound quality is better. You can upgrade to, I think they call it high definition sound or whatever. Basically, you get a little bit more, a little bit higher bit rate, I guess, is what's happening, and you can hear the difference just about. And a tenner a month, and it's an all-you-can-eat buffet for all the albums that you want to listen to, and also audio books and podcasts and stuff. Like, today Friday's a day when I don't do any guitar lessons. I need one day a week where I can just sit down and get me head into admin kind of things. This is a small business that I'm running here, and that there's admin as part of it. And I just put various kind of current affairs or news podcasts on or whatever, and just kind of listen to that up, have some music on. And I remember when I first heard of Spotify, it'll probably have been about in 2008, and I was on a guitar message board forum, and there was a guy on there who was extolling the virtues of it. And so I checked it out, and I thought, this is a good idea in principle, but there were so many artists that I wanted to listen to that weren't on there. So I kind of ignored it and kept going back every now and again. Didn't have the premium account at that point. But now it's like there's literally nothing I can't find on there. I'm sure there are, because if you're a Neil Young fan or a Taylor Swift fan or something like that, then they've quite publicly withdrawn their music from the platform. But all the bands and artists that I want to listen to, they're all on there and more. Steve Cassidy saying, do you teach the other 6 days, John? Yes, indeed, I do. I work I'm usually at my desk by about 8 a.m. So let's talk you through my working week. 8 a.m. on a Monday, I'm here. And my first lesson on a Monday is at 11 a.m. So I've got 3 hours there to crack through some YouTube content and get that done. I'll be tabbing out solos, or I'll be sat here going, hello, chaps. Welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tips. All that kind of stuff. And then 11 o'clock on a Monday, I start teaching. And then basically on and off, with maybe an hour on, an hour off, that kind of thing, or 2 hours on, an hour off, that sort of thing. It is a bit patchy, but on and off, I'm doing guitar lessons till 8 p.m. And then, so I'm doing 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. on a Monday. Then I do the same sort of thing on a Tuesday, and the same sort of thing on a Wednesday, the same sort of thing on a Thursday. Friday is my admin day, and, I kind of round off with this. Then Saturday, it's 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. And then Sunday, it's 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., where I have like a little bit of a virtual pub thing going on that we started during lockdown, where I'll have a few beers with the lads on Zoom, and then it starts all again on Monday. So if you add up those hours, I wouldn't work those hours for anybody else, but to be honest with you, the vast majority of what I'm doing doesn't feel like work. I'm just doing my hobby, which happens to, kind of bring home the bacon, basically. Time Profit is saying, what do you do if a student asks to learn something too hard for you to play? I'll be honest with you, and in 30 years or so of teaching the guitar, that's rarely happened. If you go down the guitar teacher road, then you have to be prepared that it's possibly going to happen. But when you stick an advert, as I did in the local paper, as offering guitar lessons, the vast bulk of the people who are going to come knocking on your door are beginners. Then after that, it's it's the sort of the guys who maybe know one pentatonic box, but they want to kind of expand their fretboard knowledge and kind of maybe get into the whole mode side of things and what have you. So you get a fair bunch of those. But the people who are likely to be asking for a Steve Vai solo, or a Guthrie Govan solo or something like that, if they're at that level, then they usually aren't going to be seeking out lessons. I'm trying to think if it's ever really happened. What usually happens is you'll get people who want to learn to play something that they can't play, And that's an awkward one there, because they're the customer and they're paying, but are you really going to kind of set them up to fail? To say, well, okay, here's the tab for it, or here's how you play it, and it's that's a tricky one. And you deal with it on a case by case basis usually. But in terms of people coming to me asking to play some twiddly Paul Gilbert kind of thing, that with the best will in the world, I'm not going to be able to play. They don't. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's because of I'm known as the blues rock, classic rock guy. That people who want that sort of stuff don't come to me. I don't know, but I can't honestly think in 30 years that there's ever been an occasion where that has happened. What? Possibly once there was a guy came and he wanted to kind of do Eruption by Van Halen, which is a beast of a thing to play, it has to be said. And I was able to slow it down because you can do that with various bits of software. You can slow down the recording and identify the notes and find where they're playable. And I can say, and the only thing you can do is be honest and say, look, I would have to sit and practice the living daylights out of this before I could get it anywhere near speed. There's the tab for it. That's how it's being played. I can show you the techniques, but I'm not going to BS you and say that I can sit here and play that up to speed, because I would have to sit and work at it myself. And I think everybody has their limitations, and it's not you haven't failed, and you haven't kind of admitted defeat when you kind of run up against your own limitations and say, oh, okay, we can work on this. But because that's often what a lot of people want. They just want the tab for it to see if they can have a go at it. But that happened once. As I say, I started teaching in 91, and that's 32 years now. So I don't. Does that answer your question? Balder is saying, how about a lesson on more slow hand? Let's put you up on screen, mate. On more slow hand guitars like J.J. Cale, less is more. Yeah, funny you should mention that, mate, but I have got a video. I haven't shot it yet. This is a video that will probably be going out in May, June sometime, because as I say, I work that far in advance at the moment. Essentially, I can churn out 2, sometimes 3 videos a day. So if I'm only posting 1 video a day, you can see how I build up a kind of a well, not a backlog, it's not the right word, but a stash of videos to upload. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because at some point I would like to go on holiday with me missus, and and not have to kind of have the YouTube thing shut down for a week or so while we go away and have a little bit of a break, because that would be nice, rejoin the human race for a little while. But yeah, I have got a video that's kind of in the planning stage at the moment, on just these guitar players like Peter Green, like Clapton in certain places, and I know you're going to laugh when I say this, but like Gary Moore, because he could lay back and play with economy and kind of sparingly when the mood took him. These guitar players that were able to do that. What is it that they were doing that was making it still sound interesting and drawing you in, where it could easily be just kind of dull and kind of uninspiring? So that's what I'm working on at the moment, and it's all got a lot to do with a note choice and kind of how you use timing as well. So note choice and timing, it's going to be basically like that. Ages ago I did a video on how to play with feel, and it's kind of revisiting that sort of topic, but probably a little bit, hopefully, better than I did it back then. Because I occasionally do go back and look at the videos that I posted maybe in 2018, 2019. I'm thinking I could do so much better, such a better job of that video if I was to remake it now. So there's a video I've actually just finished shooting, which may be going on YouTube, or it may be one of the sort of Patreon exclusive lessons that I do once a month for the Patreon crowd. Thank you, by the way, everyone who supports me on Patreon, where it's basically concerning an iconic Brian May solo. You know the one, Galileo, Figaro, etc. It's basically revisiting that. So I've taken down the original video because I don't want to duplicate stuff. So if I think I can do a better job of something than I've done in the past, then I'm going to revisit it. And this is this kind of whole sort of minimalist approach as well that I'm looking at. With, let's say, Peter Green and I guess Knopfler as well. He was a guitar player who could play just. He could have the odd little kind of twiddly bits in there, but it's again a field player. That sort of J.J. Cale as well, as you mentioned, Balder. Let's have a look. See that was a rather lengthy answer, so I'm just going to go and check up on the chat before we'll get one more comment in, and then I'm going to go and kind of eat food, basically. I see we've got Ravensmead in. Hi from Scotland. Jay Aoyong is saying, careful guitar teachers, the new no solo is the hot thing right now. Yeah, I don't think that's going to trouble me, to be honest with you, because again, it's this kind of thing that I've sort of settled into. I'm known as the classic rock bloke. I'm known as the bloke who does the sort of classic rock, the blues rock, the Clapton, the Knopfler, the Gilmore, that sort of stuff. People ain't coming to me for Nuno Bettencourt. If they were going to, they would have done by now. Although, God, I can't tell you how many times I taught more than words back in the early 90s after I'd first started. But there you go. I mean, that's a classic example of one of those songs that the first time you heard it, you thought, this is really good. And then you just heard it that many times that you thought, okay, enough with this one now. But yeah, I don't think any of the people who are, going to come to me for guitar lessons are going to be saying, are you the guy who can teach Nuno Bettencourt? Because frankly, I can't. Robert Galbraith is saying, any more thoughts on the night out? Let's make it happen. We've got, let me have a look. I've got a list on my phone. I have a list here for, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, yeah, we're just about into double figures. So what I'm thinking is, let's get school holidays and stuff like that out the way. How about if we kind of make it sort of September, October-ish, that kind of thing. If you're interested in heading up to Redcar for a night out, then we will make it happen, and we will kind of aim for sort of September, October window, if that's going to be workable for everybody. So my email address, jrguitartuition@gmail.com. So there we've narrowed it down to sort of vaguely kind of autumn-ish kind of time. Let's keep it as flexible as possible. And if anybody is, has dates there that they can't work around, or they're happy to work around, or whatever, then get in touch, jrguitartuition@gmail.com, and we'll set it up for, as I say, September, October, that kind of part of the year, and we'll basically drink a lot of beer and eat curry and basically make merry in a very entertaining way. And yeah, so that's where we're at with it. Malcolm, you can be here in spirit, mate. You can be here in spirit. And I see we are, I was going to say 59 minutes and 59 seconds in, but by the time I'd said 59, we're over the hour. And I'm starting to get a bit hungry, and not to put too fine a point on it, what goes in has to come out. So let's wrap things up there, chaps. As always, thank you once again for turning up to watch a fat, bald northern lad talk absolute bollocks for an hour. It's been a blast, and I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.